I lived most of my life at, really all my life at.
Well, he always was a good little boy when he was coming up and never had no trouble out of him. He never did fight or nothing.
The history has been that the district attorney's office doesn't need a whole lot of evidence to put a poor black man in jail.
The judge basically said, you don't have to put on any defense at all. I find that the case is absolutely baseless. And that almost never happens.
I had told him, I said, well, you be careful walking around up through there at night. I said, because you know that police got killed. I said, they're going to pick up anybody they can. And just like I told them, that's what happened.
I never had a judge. He was almost coming out of his, off the bench, and how angry he was at the prosecution.
And he wasn't even home when the man got killed. If it wasn't for her, I don't know what Squeaky would have did.
I don't know what happened. Because I'd seen him in the neighborhood before, but then all of a sudden, one day I looked at him and I was like, what? I know I've seen that boy before, but how now I like him? But it was pretty fast. But, oh well. Because we wouldn't have had the short time we had together before he left if we hadn't done it, so.
Always have police passing through here, you know. And anything go on, they're going to grab you, so.
They always tell us be careful. Policemen out there, you know what I'm saying? They see you, they're going to stop you or whatever. But it's not even about being careful. I had a warrant on me from an old charge, from like a year later, something like that. Police came to the job. I was the only person working the line, cooking. I even think I seen them out there, but I ain't paying no attention about the rush, you know what I'm saying? So once the rush was over, that's like when the policemen came in, telling me you're under arrest. I do 2 weeks, and I get released for the charge, which is the same day the police officer get killed on the same time. I was released April 12th, around like 1:15, and I walked home. When I did get to the corner to turn, I could see lights flashing, police officers, and yellow tape. No, it was like, I got out the phone too, like a minute later, I heard gunshots. 2 weeks after I come home, I was in my job, the police passed by, and like about a couple of minutes later, same car come back, and he had a police car behind him. My dog was barking, you know what I'm saying? And he asked, was that my dog? Which it wasn't, but I was like, yeah, that's my dog. Once I looked back, he just grabbed me. And next thing you know, I was getting arrested for a murder, for a police officer.
All of a sudden I start hearing the dog downstairs barking. It won't stop. I look outside the window and I see this police officer grab Squeaky from the gate and throw him to the ground and start beating him and start trying to put handcuffs on him. I run downstairs and I'm just like, what is going on? What are you all thinking? Because then within a minute, there was probably about 30 policemen there and the SWAT team. And nobody's telling us why he's being arrested until then they start talking about murder and first-degree murder and the gas chamber and he's a cop killer and we're both going to the gas chamber. all this shit about thug life, and I could choose a real life or a thug life. And they start going up the stairs to go into our apartment, and I was like, well, I want to see a warrant. And they just pushed me aside and said, you're going to get your warrant. And they went upstairs and just started tearing the place apart. You could hear dishes being thrown on the ground, beds being turned over, drawers being pulled out. And they keep yelling all kinds of stuff about how we both gonna die for this crime. So they take us into the car, and I wasn't afraid when I was at home, but once they got me in that car with the handcuffs, and I was barefoot, I had, had my pajamas on, I was just like, they're not taking me to the police station. I don't think I'm gonna see tomorrow. I was so scared. They interrogate us for hours. And they bring me home probably about 4 or 5 in the morning. Hand me the warrant after all that time. And I go upstairs and it's like, I don't know what to think. I got home, but Squeaky didn't. And it's so serious. It's murder of a police officer. So when I first get in, the phone's ringing, but I can't find the phone. Shit. Where? I could hear it ringing, but it's not gonna be where it normally was, that's for sure. So finally I find the phone and it's Squeaky. We talked to his grandma three-way.
And then he called me and he told me they had to arrest him. Just like I told him, that's what happened.
I was shocked, amazed. I was amazed. Because we know that he's not that type of person. And for that type of felony, it really was strange.
Their story already was a little fishy just because there was such short of a time between the time he was released from jail and the time the police officer was killed. Right before the preliminary hearing, trying to put together a walk from where he was released to the house to demonstrate how he didn't have time to do the shooting. We were scared and didn't know if we were doing the right thing with politicizing the case. Even with the marches and things, some people were a little, you sure that's a good idea? What if we piss the wrong people off and things start happening to us or to Squeaky?
I feel like I was in a bad luck cell from the beginning. Every Saturday I had time. In life, 20 years, 25 years, they had time. He got 30 years, he got life, he got 20 years. He ain't worrying about another person. That's how most of them feel. Be like, don't worry about it. Ain't no such thing, don't worry about it. I'm facing life. What you mean, don't worry about it? You gonna be all right. I ain't gonna be all right. I gotta think about this every day. Every day is the same day. Always just you in a group of other dudes. It was the bathroom in front of each other, you showering with each other. It's like, and you have no privacy, you can't do nothing, that's not rehabilitating about waking up every day, doing the same thing every day, looking at the same people every day, just aggravates you every day. I wasn't allowed to work or nothing. You had to have time at that time, so I just read a lot, just try to stay in my case, just try to stay focused.
So Squeaky and I both did our surveys and researches for lawyers, and this name kept coming up for being the best in town, Robert Glass. And whenever I mentioned that name, they said, well, if you're talking to Robert Glass, you don't need to talk to anybody else. And lawyers were even saying, if I was on trial for murder, I would want Robert Glass. I talked to him on the phone, and he told us $50,000. So I was like, well, I can't say yes to that. I pretty much thought, no. There's no way I could get $50,000, or any of us could, or all of us together could. I realized that there are people in the community that help with this kind of thing. And so I go to Antoinette Cato, And she's like, let me have you talk to my cousin. You gotta have other clubs or committees that you should be talking to.
We are not missionaries. We fight with those people who are willing to fight. We were having a Malcolm X Day march. And Miley came up and she was passing out flyers and telling people that she had organized this march on behalf of her boyfriend, who had been railroaded by the police for the murder of police officer Wes Williams.
And from the very beginning, it just looked at me straight up and said, he's going to trial.
If we allow them to go quietly into the night, AHMAD Nelson will be tried and found guilty and sent to Angola Penitentiary for the rest of his life. We understood that. We were not so much concerned about AHMAD Nelson as a person, but AHMAD Nelson as a representative of thousands of other young black men who have been victimized by this system of police injustice that they call justice in America. The case just didn't add up. They concocted a lie that AHMAD Nelson would get out of jail at 1 o'clock in the morning and on his way home would somehow get a hold of a pistol, would kill this policeman, not rob him, but kill him for no apparent reason. And that didn't add up. We checked out the story. He stopped by his mother's house, called his girlfriend from there, and walked on home. And in the meantime, as he was walking home, a police officer was off duty and got killed. And what's strange about this police officer, and that the press didn't want to talk much about, was he was out hustling transvestites in the streets. We felt that the best thing that we could do is find the best attorneys that were available. We were convinced that we had to build a public campaign to profess the innocence of AHMAD and to profess that this was another witch hunt and a railroad and a legal lynching by the police, and put the state on the defensive, pointing out their whole sorry history of railroading young black men who are innocent. We tried to convey to the public from the get-go that we had a rare opportunity to intervene in the case before a person is sent to prison. Because, you know, there's a lot of committees to free people, and these are people who have been wrongly convicted.
Earl Truvia and a co-defendant, Greg Bright, had spent 28 years in Angola fighting a murder conviction that was based solely on one witness that turned out to be schizophrenic. And the DA's office knew it, but withheld that evidence at their first trial. Ever since he had stepped foot in Orleans to get his new trial, the DA's office has been offering him these deals. You take credit for time served and you're going home today, but you just have to plead guilty. Earl and Squeaky were on the same tier for quite a few months, and so they became friends.
It made me feel like I probably was gonna have to go through that too, because I've been through the system. He always told me he ain't taking no deal or nothing. In ways I was like, get to go home today, you know what I'm saying? You just take this deal, man. Just, you did 30 years already, leave, go home, like, you know what I'm saying? Just take the conviction. But she was like, I didn't tell him that, but in so many ways I was like that. But he was like, I'm showing my innocence. Like, I go back to the penitentiary and I just keep fighting over and over. Yeah, he was another person, you know, that helped me out and talked to me, you know, like kept me strong and like kept me going on.
So the night before his second trial, the DA's office dropped the charges. Found this great lawyer, and we really think that's the way to go, but he wants $50,000, you know, and how are we ever gonna do that? And my friend was like, look, Marjorie, I know you can do this. And I have $1,000 in my bank account that I'm sending you tomorrow. And how much money do you have in the bank? And I was like, oh, probably a little over 1,000. He's like, well, we got 2,000 right there. So just keep asking all your friends and you're gonna have it. I know you can.
We did a whole series of rallies throughout the city, published thousands upon thousands of leaflets.
We put up hundreds of these posters around town.
We went out and passed our flyers. We did marches.
The supper is a pretty traditional way of raising money down here. A lot of families do it for all kinds of reasons. You did most of it.
Yeah, I cook in
all of the suburbs. Be sitting in there peeling potatoes, cleaning chicken. The word started getting around with my friends other places. In Austin, Texas, Portland, Oregon. In New York, things were happening. This couple, Joe and Lee, they had gotten married, and they asked everybody at the wedding to make a donation. The first $20,000 was solid donations.
It wasn't an ordinary case in any sense. First thing was the victim was a policeman. And in an ordinary case, when a policeman is a victim, it's charged as a capital murder case, a first-degree murder case. But this was a policeman who was off-duty and who was soliciting homosexual sex from 2 male prostitutes. So it made it a peculiar kind of murder case.